Judge Harlan Whitaker stood in handcuffs at a Tennessee gas station, surrounded by 3 officers. His expensive suit was dusty. One cop smirked. "Big mistake driving through our town, boy." This is one of those black stories that reminds us how quickly power can shift. Real-life stories do not always follow the script we expect. Stories like this one prove that touching stories can emerge from the darkest moments. Late one night along a rural route, fluorescent lights flickered overhead. Harlan Whitaker, 52 years old, stood beside his black Mercedes S-Class. His charcoal Tom Ford suit caught the light. His hands were steady. His voice was calm. He said nothing as the cuffs clicked shut. Have you ever been so certain of your innocence that you stayed silent, knowing the truth would be louder than any defense you could offer? Officer Travis Langford approached with his hand near his weapon. 15 years on the force, crew cut, 38 years old, his boots crunched on gravel. License and registration now. Harlan reached slowly into his jacket. He pulled out his wallet. His movements were deliberate. Every gesture telegraphed compliance. Langford studied the license under his flashlight. Atlanta, long way from home. He looked up. "Step out of the vehicle." Harlan opened the door. He stood. He kept his hands visible. Officer Bryce Caldwell circled the Mercedes with his flashlight. 29 years old. His body cam was off. The small red light that should have been blinking was dark. "Nice car," Caldwell said. "How's a guy like you afford a ride like this?" Harlan did not answer. He watched. He calculated. Sergeant Victor Langston pulled up in a third cruiser, 45 years old. Supervisor on scene. He stepped out and surveyed the situation. He did not ask questions. He did not de-escalate. "What do we have?" Langston asked. "Matches the description," Langford said. "Description of what?" Harlan asked quietly. "Don't play dumb," Langford said. "Robbery suspect. We got a call." Harlan's jaw tightened. "What robbery? When? Where?" Langford ignored him. "Turn around. Hands behind your back." The handcuffs were cold. They bit into Harlan's wrists, not painfully, just enough to remind him of their presence. Inside the gas station, a clerk watched through the window. Hispanic, 24 years old, college student, working nights. He had had his own encounters with Langston. He pulled out his phone. He started recording. 2 other customers stood at their pumps. Both pulled out phones. The cameras captured everything. Harlan's calm face, Langford's aggressive stance, the way Caldwell kept circling like a predator. One customer whispered to the other, "Think he actually did something?" The other shrugged. Cops would not arrest him for nothing. Harlan was loaded into the back of Langford's cruiser. The door slammed. The world became smaller. Blue and red lights painted the night. His briefcase sat on the passenger seat of his Mercedes. Inside was a gavel-shaped paperweight. The engraving read, "Honorable Harlan J. Whitaker." Nobody looked inside. They arrived at the Crawford County Sheriff's Department. Concrete walls, fluorescent buzz, the smell of industrial disinfectant. Harlan was placed in a holding cell. He sat upright. His tie was still knotted. He folded his jacket beside him. Desk Sergeant Ellis Vaughn processed the paperwork. 50-something. He had seen everything twice. His eyes were tired but sharp. Langford filled out the arrest report. Suspicious activity, failure to comply, possible vehicle theft. Vaughn raised an eyebrow. Vehicle theft. Registration came back clean. High-end car. Langford said, "Out-of-state plates, late night. Run his record." Vaughn typed. The system loaded. No priors, not even a parking ticket. "Langford," Vaughn said slowly, "maybe we should." Langston interrupted. "Book him." "Disorderly conduct. We will sort it later." Vaughn hesitated. Then he printed the custody receipt. Personal effects. Wallet containing Bar Association card. Briefcase not open per protocol. Phone. Harlan watched this exchange. His face showed nothing. "I would like to make my phone call," Harlan said. Langston looked at him. "Phone system's down. You will call later. That is a violation of—" "Do not tell me my job, sir." Langston's voice dripped with sarcasm. Harlan stopped talking. A slight smile touched his lips. The first time he had smiled all night. Langford noticed. What is funny? Nothing, officer, Harlan said. I will wait. What they did not know, Harlan's absence had already triggered alerts. His court clerk expected a check-in call by midnight. His wife, a prominent civil rights attorney, expected the same. The State Bar Association had protocols for traveling judges. When judges do not check in, people notice. Harlan lay on the cell bench. His eyes were open. 3 rooms away, his phone sat in an evidence locker. It buzzed continuously. 47 missed calls. His watch caught the light. Patek Philippe Nautilus, $85,000. Langford had seen it earlier. He had assumed it was fake. His wedding ring had an inscription visible when light hit it right. To Judge Whitaker, love eternal. Nobody had looked closely enough. Later that night, Harlan heard footsteps. A guard walked past. Harlan spoke softly. Officer, what is the date? The guard told him. Just keeping track, Harlan said. The guard left. Harlan closed his eyes. He knew the rotation schedule. Tennessee rotates visiting judges from other districts to handle overflow cases. He had checked it before leaving Atlanta. The Crawford County Circuit Court, visiting judge assignment, his assignment. He smiled again in the darkness. Vaughn, the desk sergeant, came back to check on him. He stood outside the cell. You a lawyer? Vaughn asked quietly. Something like that, Harlan said. Vaughn nodded. He walked away, but he pulled Harlan's custody file. He read the Bar Association card entry. His eyes widened. He said nothing. Later that morning, Harlan's wife, Brooke, called the Crawford County Sheriff's Office. The receptionist answered. I'm looking for my husband, Harlan Whitaker. He was arrested last night. Hold, please. The line clicked. Silence. Then Langston's voice. Ma'am, your husband refused to cooperate. He will see a magistrate this afternoon. This afternoon? Brooke's voice was sharp. That is a 14-hour hold without arraignment. Langston hung up. Brooke immediately called the Tennessee State Bar Association. The machinery was turning slowly, but it was turning. Harlan sat in his cell. His suit was wrinkled now, but his spine was still straight. His hands were still folded. He was the calmest person in the building. Later that morning, Brooke called the Tennessee State Bar Association. She spoke with Director Patricia Carmichael. They are holding a judge, Brooke said. Without cause, without his phone call, they do not even know who he is. Carmichael went silent. Then which judge? Harlan Whitaker, 6th Circuit. Oh God. Soon after, the Bar Association called the Tennessee Attorney General's office. Chief Judge Lorraine Beckett learned her colleague was in custody. Judge Beckett had mentored Harlan for 2 decades. She had watched him rise from public defender to circuit judge. She knew his temperament. She knew his precision. She made one phone call. Do not release him yet. Let this play out. It sounded cruel. It was not. It was strategic. The gas station videos went viral, quickly reaching 340,000 views. The customer who filmed it posted on social media with hashtags driving, while Black Crawford County, a civil rights journalist, picked up the thread. She broke down the timeline. Well-dressed man. Full compliance. No probable cause stated. Body cams off. Matches description of what crime? None reported in the county that night. Local news called the sheriff's department. We are hearing about an arrest last night. Can you comment? The receptionist transferred them to Sheriff Randall Brooks. Brooks was 58, 3 terms, elected official. He had survived scandals before, but he felt something different this time. He pulled up the custody log, then the gas station footage someone had emailed anonymously. He watched Harlan comply. He watched Langford escalate. He watched 3 officers surround one calm man. Brooks called Langford into his office. What the hell happened? Routine stop, sir. He was aggressive. Brooks turned his computer screen. Watch this. Tell me where he is aggressive. Langford watched. His face tightened. Clips can be edited. This is raw footage from the gas station security system. Time-stamped. Continuous. Langford said nothing. Langston entered. His wife is raising hell. She is some kind of lawyer. Brooks made a calculation. Political calculation. Cite and release. Get him out by noon. Disorderly conduct fine. $500. He will pay and leave. Sheriff, do it. What Brooks did not do, check who Harlan actually was. He just wanted the problem gone. Later that morning, Harlan was brought to the magistrate court, basement level. Magistrate Nolan Pierce presided, 42 years old, part-time position. He handled minor offenses, standard procedure. Name, charge. Plea, bail. Harlan Jonathan Whitaker. Pierce read, disorderly conduct. How do you plead? Not guilty. Pierce set the hearing date, the day of the visiting judge assignment, 10 in the morning. Harlan's eyes flickered just for a second. Bail set at $1,000. Harlan paid from his wallet. He collected his belongings, his briefcase, his phone, his watch. As he signed the release forms, he looked up at Pierce. Judge Pierce, are you familiar with Judicial Conduct Canon 3.2? Pierce blinked. What? You will want to review it. Good day. Harlan walked out. Exactly 12 hours after his arrest, 23 reporters waited on the courthouse steps. Cameras flashed. Questions flew. Were you mistreated? Will you sue? Do you think this was racially motivated? Harlan stood at the microphone cluster. Brooks stood beside him. He raised one hand. The crowd quieted. His statement was 100 words. Measured. Devastating. I am Judge Harlan Whitaker of the 6th Circuit Court of Georgia. Last night, I was arrested without probable cause by Crawford County officers. I complied fully. Their body cams were disabled. I was denied my phone call for 12 hours. I have served 18 years on the bench. I have presided over 4,000 cases. I have never, not once, been on the defendant's side of a courtroom until yesterday. This experience has clarified something I thought I understood. I did not. No further questions. He walked to his Mercedes. He drove away. Soon after, CNN picked it up. MSNBC, Fox News. The headlines varied, but the shock was universal. Federal judge arrested at gas station. Judge held 12 hours without cause. Body cam footage missing in judge's arrest. Back at Crawford County Sheriff's Department, Brooks watched the news. His face went pale. Get me everything, he told his assistant. Every report, every recording, every piece of paper. The Tennessee Bureau of Investigation opened an inquiry that afternoon. 2 investigators arrived at the station. We need the body cam footage from last night's arrest. Langford sat across from them. Technical malfunction. All 3 cameras. Yes. Simultaneously? Yes. The lead investigator leaned forward. Officer Langford, the statistical probability of 3 independent devices failing at the exact same moment is 0.003%. Would you like to revise your statement? Langford said nothing. They pulled the jail security recordings audio from inside the station. One clip caught Langston talking to Langford in the break room. You did not tell me he had Georgia plates with a government exemption sticker. So what? Plenty of state employees have those. Judges get those. Langford. Judges. We did not know. The investigators listened. They made notes. They said nothing. The evidence was mounting. Gas station footage showed no disorderly conduct. Customer videos corroborated Harlan's compliance. Jail logs showed the phone system was operational. 3 other inmates made calls during Harlan's detention. Dispatch recordings showed no robbery reported in Crawford County that night. Match's description was fabricated. Judge Linda Haskell, Crawford County Circuit Judge, called an emergency meeting with Sheriff Brooks. Linda Haskell was 62. Tough. Fair. She had served Crawford County for 20 years. Do you understand what you have done? Her voice was quiet, dangerous quiet. It was a mistake, Brooks said. We will apologize. It is not your apology to give. You arrested a federal circuit judge. The 6th Circuit has jurisdiction over Tennessee. We did not know. That is worse. You arrested a man without probable cause. The fact that he is a judge just makes it impossible to sweep under the rug. Brooks sat down heavily. What do we do? You wait. He scheduled his hearing for the day of the visiting judge assignment. Do you know who the visiting judge is that day? Brooks shook his head. Check the rotation. Brooks pulled up the public schedule. His face went white. Visiting judge, Crawford County Circuit Court, Harlan J. Whitaker. Oh God. Yes, Haskell said. Oh, God. What neither of them knew yet, the Sixth Circuit had launched a formal review of Crawford County's arrest patterns. Harlan's case was the catalyst, but data analysts were already pulling 5 years of records. Early findings showed a pattern. Black drivers arrested at 8.7 times the rate of others for suspicious activity. The numbers did not lie. Harlan spent the following weeks preparing, not his defense, his prosecution. The day arrived with clear skies. The Crawford County Circuit Courthouse was built in 1932. Stone steps, tall columns, the kind of building that was supposed to represent justice. By morning, the gallery was packed. Media, civil rights observers, local citizens, some came to support the officers, most came to witness history. Langford, Caldwell, and Langston sat at the defendant's table. County Attorney Garrett Mills sat with them. He was 39, overwhelmed. He had been assigned this case days ago. He had spent those days trying to get the charges dismissed. His motions were denied by Judge Haskell, by the Attorney General's office, by everyone. Let it proceed, they all said. Mills did not understand why until this moment. The bailiff entered. All rise. The room stood. The Honorable Judge Harlan J. Whitaker presiding. The door opened. Harlan entered in full judicial robes, black fabric, dignified. He walked with the same calm he had shown in handcuffs. His gavel, the one from his briefcase, rested on the bench. He sat. He arranged his papers. He looked up. Please, be seated. The room sat. You could hear breathing. Harlan's voice was clear. Steady. This is case number CR 1847. The State of Tennessee versus officers. Travis Langford, Bryce Caldwell, and Sergeant Victor Langston. Charges: deprivation of civil rights under color of law, false arrest, and falsification of police records. How did the defendants plead? Mills stood. His hands shook. Your Honor, I move for your recusal based on. Motion denied. Your Honor, Counsel. Judicial Canon. 3.2 allows a judge to preside when the judge is a witness to the facts, not merely a victim. I witnessed every moment of the events in question. I am uniquely qualified to hear this case. Your motion is denied. How do your clients plead? Mills looked at the three officers. Langford stared at the table. Caldwell looked sick. Langston's jaw was clenched. Not guilty, Your Honor. Noted. Prosecution may present its opening statement. A prosecutor from the Attorney General's office stood. Brooke Whitaker sat in the front row. She was not prosecuting. That would have been too much. But she was there. The prosecutor laid out the case: wrongful arrest, civil rights violation, falsification of records. Then came the evidence. Exhibit A, gas station footage played on courtroom screens, high definition, time-stamped, every second documented. Harlan narrated his own arrest. His voice was clinical, detached. Note at timestamp 234719. Officer Langford approaches with hand on weapon. At 234755, I provide license and registration without hesitation. At 234912, I am handcuffed without stated probable cause. The footage showed everything. Harlan's compliance, Langford's aggression, the way Caldwell circled the car like he was hunting. The courtroom watched in silence. Exhibit B, body cam audit. A TBI investigator took the stand. All three officers' body cams were manually disabled minutes before initial contact with Judge Whitaker. Harlan looked at Langford. Officer Langford, is it standard protocol to disable recording equipment before a traffic stop? Mills stood. Objection. Leading. Overruled. The officer will answer. Langford cleared his throat. I do not recall. Let me help your memory. The device logs show you press the disable button 3 times in succession. That requires deliberate action. Did you or did you not manually disable your body cam? Silence, officer. Yes. Yes. What? Yes. I disabled it. Why? I do not remember. The device does not forget even if you do. Noted. Exhibit C, dispatch records. Harlan entered them into evidence personally. He read from the log. That night, Crawford County Dispatch, 0 robbery reports, 0 theft reports, 0 violent crime reports between the hours of 6 in the evening and midnight. He looked at Langston. Sergeant Langston, you told me I matched a description. Description of what crime? Langston stared straight ahead. Sergeant, you are under oath. I believe there was a report. You believed wrong or you lied. Which is it? Mills objected. Harlan sustained it, but the point was made. Exhibit D phone call logs. Security footage from the jail showed 3 inmates making phone calls during Harlan's detention. Time-stamped, audio recorded. Harlan played the audio. 3 different voices, 3 successful calls. Sergeant Langston, you told me the phone system was down. Was that statement true? I thought it was. You thought wrong. Again, the jury, 12 citizens of Crawford County, watched all of this. Their faces showed shock, confusion, anger. Then came Exhibit E. This was the bomb. Harlan introduced a statistical analysis. 5 years of arrest data from Crawford County conducted by the 6th Circuit's data team. Dr. Sofia Ramirez took the stand. Statistician, Ph.D. from Stanford. Expert witness. She presented her findings. Crawford County arrest data. Black drivers 8.7 times more likely to be arrested for suspicious activity. 12.3 times more likely to have vehicles searched. 6.4 times more likely to be held overnight without bail. Suspicious activity arrests of black individuals. 89% result in dropped charges or acquittal. Same statistic for others, 34%. Harlan let the numbers sit. The courtroom absorbed them. The jury absorbed them. Dr. Ramirez, in statistical analysis, what do we call a pattern this pronounced? Systemic discrimination, Your Honor. Harlan turned to Mills. Mr. Mills, does the county dispute these findings? Mills looked at his notes. He had nothing. We need time to review the methodology. You have had weeks. The methodology was provided. The county has had ample time. Do you dispute the findings or not? We cannot confirm. That is not what I asked. Do you dispute them? Mills sat down. No, Your Honor. Harlan nodded. He turned to the 3 officers. He looked at each one. Langford, Caldwell, Langston. Gentlemen, you have 2 choices. 1, this proceeds to full trial where every arrest you have made in 5 years will be scrutinized. Every traffic stop, every search, every report. 2, you accept a consent decree that includes your immediate suspension, mandatory bias training, and 2 years probation. Your employment futures will depend on your compliance and the county's reform measures. You have until after lunch to decide. Court is recessed. He struck the gavel once. The sound echoed. Harlan stood. He exited through the judge's chamber. The courtroom erupted in whispers. Langford sat frozen. Caldwell put his head in his hands. Langston stared at the bench where Harlan had sat. Mills turned to them. Take the deal. We did not do anything wrong, Langford said. You arrested a judge without cause. Your body cams were off. You lied about a robbery. You denied him his phone call. A jury will convict you in 20 minutes. Mills's voice was harsh. Take the deal. Court reconvened. Mills stood. Your Honor, the defendants accept the consent decree terms. Harlan nodded. Let the record reflect that acceptance. Now we address the systemic issues that allowed this to happen. He read the terms aloud. Every word, every condition. Officers Langford, Caldwell, and Langston suspended without pay for 90 days. Then 2 years probation. Any citizen complaint triggers immediate review. Second violation equals termination. Sheriff Brooks. Not criminally charged, but must implement reforms within 180 days or face removal proceedings. Department-wide bias training. All 47 Crawford County officers complete 40-hour certification repeated annually. Body cam mandate cannot be disabled manually. Automatic activation when patrol car leaves station. Footage cloud stored immediately. Traffic stop data collection. Race. Reason for stop. Duration. Search conducted. Arrest made. Quarterly public reporting. The courtroom listened to every word. When Harlan finished, he looked at the 3 officers one final time. This consent decree is not punishment. It is education. You will learn what I learned in that cell. What it feels like to be powerless, to be disbelieved, to be judged before trial, and then you will learn to never make another person feel that way. Do you understand?" All three nodded. "Verbally, please." "Yes, Your Honor," they said in unison. "This court is adjourned." The gavel struck. Harlan stood. He exited. The room remained silent for 10 full seconds after he left. Then, chaos. Reporters rushed out. Observers talked over each other. The jury filed out looking shaken. Mills packed his briefcase. He looked at the three officers. "You just witnessed the most merciful verdict you will ever receive. Do not waste it." He left them sitting there. Days after the hearing, the Crawford County Commission held an emergency meeting. Harlan attended, not as a judge, as an expert witness. The commission chamber was full. County commissioners, Sheriff Brooks, community members, media. Commission Chairman Wyatt Porter called the meeting to order. 65 years old, farmer, 3 decades in local government. "We are here to discuss the consent decree and its implementation. Judge Whitaker has agreed to present a framework." Harlan stood. He carried a bound document, 47 pages, charts, data, policy recommendations. "Crawford County Policing Reform Framework," he said simply. He distributed copies. Then he began. "I'm going to present 5 structural reforms. These are not suggestions. Under the consent decree, failure to implement within 180 days triggers state intervention. Let us begin. Reform 1, Civilian Review Board, 9 members. County residents, 3-year terms, reviews all use of force incidents and citizen complaints. 3 seats reserved for Black community members to ensure diverse perspective." Commissioner Ellen Rodriguez raised her hand. "Who appoints them?" "The commission appoints 6. Community organizations nominate and elect 3. This prevents political capture. What is their authority? They can recommend discipline or training or policy changes. Sheriff must respond in writing within 30 days. If sheriff rejects recommendations, they can appeal to the state." Brooks shifted in his seat. He did not like this, but he said nothing. Reform 2, Early Warning System. Harlan pulled up a slide. Software interface data fields. This system tracks officer behavior patterns, excessive force complaints, dismissed charges, citizen complaints, body cam malfunctions. Officers flagged after 3 incidents in 12 months trigger mandatory review. "What kind of review?" Porter asked. "Psychological evaluation, retraining, possible reassignment. The goal is not punishment. It is intervention before patterns become tragedies." Sheriff Brooks spoke for the first time. "Judge Whitaker, with respect, this will create a culture of fear. Officers will not want to do their jobs." Harlan turned to him. "Sheriff, officers who do their jobs correctly have nothing to fear from documentation. Officers who abuse their authority should fear documentation." "That is the point." The room went quiet. Harlan continued. "The data shows which officers generate complaints and which do not. Some officers work 30 years without a single excessive force complaint. Others generate 5 in 3 years. This system identifies the difference. Reform 3, Community Liaison Program. Every officer spends 8 hours monthly at community centers, schools, local events, not in uniform, not on duty, building relationships, not just enforcing." Deputy Chief Morrison spoke up. "That is 64 hours per officer annually. We do not have the staffing. Then hire more officers, or accept that policing is not just response. It is prevention. It is trust. Budget accordingly." Harlan showed data from other departments that implemented similar programs. Crime rates decreased. Community satisfaction increased. Officer retention improved. When people know their officers as humans, not just badges, cooperation increases, tips increase, de-escalation becomes easier. Reform 4. Financial accountability. This was the piece that made commissioners nervous. Crawford County will pay a $250,000 settlement. I am donating it to Tennessee Legal Aid Society. But more important, your insurance premiums will increase due to this violation that hits the budget. That forces accountability. Porter frowned. "Judge, we are a small county. Budget increases hurt services, then do not violate civil rights. Insurance companies are excellent at risk assessment. They are telling you this behavior is expensive." "Listen." Harlan showed the math. Average settlement for civil rights violations, $1.2 million. Training and prevention costs, $80,000 annually. Prevention is cheaper than lawsuits every time. Reform 5. Mandatory reporting. Traffic stop data goes public quarterly. Race, reason, duration, search, arrest. No exceptions. Transparency creates accountability. He showed Crawford County's current numbers, 8.7 times, 12.3 times, 6.4 times. These numbers are shameful. Publishing them quarterly will force improvement because nobody wants to explain why the disparity persists. Commissioner Rodriguez asked the hard question. Judge Whitaker, do you believe our officers are racist? Harlan paused. The room held its breath. I believe they operate in a system with racial disparities. Whether that is explicit bias, implicit bias, or structural incentives does not change the outcome. Black drivers are arrested more often for the same behaviors. That is what the data shows. These reforms address the system, not individual souls. It was a careful answer. True. Measured. The commission voted 7-2. The framework passed. Brooks looked at Harlan. When do we start? Tomorrow. 1 week later, Harlan received a call from Magistrate Pierce, the man who had arraigned him. Judge Whitaker, I need to speak with you. They met at a coffee shop outside Crawford County, neutral ground. Pierce looked tired, ashamed. I should have known, Pierce said. When you asked about Canon 3.2, I should have looked closer, asked more questions. I just processed you like everyone else. Harlan sipped his coffee. That is exactly the problem, Judge Pierce. You processed me like everyone else. But I was not everyone else. I was someone whose rights were violated, and you missed it. Pierce nodded. The Judicial Commission reprimanded me. Formal reprimand. 20 hours continuing education on constitutional rights. Good. That is it. Just good. Harlan leaned forward. Judge Pierce, you had one job that day. Protect my rights. You failed. Not because you are malicious, because you are complacent. The system runs on complacency. The reprimand is fair. Learn from it. Pierce left, looking smaller than when he arrived. Harlan stayed. He ordered another coffee. Brooke called. How did it go? He apologized. Did you accept? I acknowledged it. Acceptance implies forgiveness. I'm not there yet. Brooke understood. The data report comes out soon. Are you ready? Yes. The Tennessee Bureau of Investigation completed its review. The findings were released to the public. Crawford County Sheriff's Department pattern of discriminatory enforcement, insufficient oversight, inadequate training, systemic failures at multiple levels, recommendations aligned perfectly with Harlan's framework. Because Harlan had consulted on the investigation, his expertise, his experience, his data, the report went further. It recommended state monitoring for 2 years. If disparities did not improve, the state could assume control of the department. Brooks read the report in his office. Alone. He was 58 years old. 3 terms as sheriff. He had never faced anything like this. He called Harlan. Judge Whitaker, I need your help. I'm listening. I do not know how to fix this. The report, the numbers, I have been sheriff for 12 years. This happened on my watch. Harlan was quiet for a moment. Sheriff, awareness is the first step. You are aware now. Implement the reforms. Actually implement them. Not for compliance, for change. Will you help? I will monitor. I will advise. But this is your department. You fix it. Brooks took a breath. Okay. Weeks after implementation, the first quarterly report was released. Traffic stops of black drivers decreased 42%. Suspicious activity arrests decreased 59%. The numbers were moving slowly, but moving. The Civilian Review Board held its first meeting, heard 4 cases, found in favor of officers in 3 cases, against in 1. The one case where they found against the officer, excessive force during a wellness check. Officer was suspended for 30 days, retrained, reassigned to desk duty for 6 months. The officer complained. He appealed. The state upheld the decision. The system was working. Harlan received letters, hundreds of them, from people who had been arrested in Crawford County, from people across Tennessee, from across the country. One letter stood out from a mother in Memphis. Her son had been arrested 5 times for suspicious activity. Never charged, never convicted, just arrested. Thank you for showing that the system can change. My son is afraid of police. Maybe now he will not have to be. Harlan kept that letter in his desk drawer. Langford resigned 4 months after the hearing. He could not handle the scrutiny, the oversight, the knowledge that every action was documented and reviewed. He moved to private security. He could not work in law enforcement again. The consent decree followed him. Caldwell stayed. He completed the bias training. He met with community members. He slowly, painfully, began to understand what he had done. 1 year later, Caldwell would become the department's community liaison coordinator. The transformation surprised everyone, including himself. Langston took early retirement. He was 46, 22 years on the force. He left quietly. Sheriff Brooks ran for re-election. His opponent used the incident against him, called him weak, said he had caved to outside pressure. Brooks won by 3 points. Narrow victory, but he won on a platform of reform. On election night, he called Harlan. I did not think I would make it. You earned it, Harlan said. Do not waste it. I will not. The reforms took root. The Civilian Review Board became a model. Other Tennessee counties requested the framework. Brooks presented at a state law enforcement conference. The body cam system worked flawlessly. Cloud storage meant no more convenient malfunctions. Officers complained at first. Then they realized the cameras protected them too. When complaints were false, the footage proved it. The early warning system flagged 6 officers in the first year. 3 were retrained successfully. 2 were reassigned. 1 was terminated for repeated violations. The traffic stop data told the story. Year 1, 8.7 times disparity. Year 2, 4.1 times. Still too high, but improving. Harlan presented the data at the National Judicial Conference. 1,200 judges attended. They listened. Data does not lie, Harlan said. 8.7 times. That number should haunt every person who says discrimination is rare or exaggerated. A judge from Alabama asked, what if the data is explained by crime rates in different communities? Harlan was ready. We controlled for that. We controlled for time of day, location, officer assignment, and reported crime rates. The disparity persists. Next question. The room went silent. Harlan continued, I did not want money. I wanted a mirror. I wanted these officers in this county to see themselves as I saw them that night. Data is that mirror. It reflects what we would rather not see. The conference gave him a standing ovation, not because they agreed with everything, because he had forced them to look at something they had been avoiding. Harlan appeared on 60 Minutes. The segment aired with millions of viewers. The interviewer asked the key question. Judge Whitaker, did you ever consider physical resistance or legal aggression? Suing for millions? Harlan's answer became the most quoted part of the interview. Violence would have confirmed their bias. A cash settlement would have enriched me, but changed nothing. I wanted structural change. I wanted policy. I wanted data collection that outlasts me. Protections that help people I will never meet. Accountability systems that function when cameras are not watching. That is not revenge. That is citizenship. That is what the bench taught me. The clip went viral. Millions of views across platforms. Harlan received an invitation from the Tennessee State Legislature. They were considering Senate Bill 847, statewide body cam mandate. He testified. He brought his data. He brought his story. He brought his calm, devastating logic. The bill passed 28-5. Governor signed it. Harlan stood behind her at the signing ceremony. This is Whitaker's law, the governor said. Harlan shook his head in the photo. He did not want his name on it, but the name stuck. Law schools added his case to their curricula. Over 200 schools. Students studied the consent decree, the statistical analysis, the systemic approach. Harlan gave guest lectures. 6 schools in the first year. He talked about implicit bias, about data-driven reform, about the importance of lived experience. At Yale Law School, a student asked, Judge Whitaker, how did you stay so calm during your arrest? Harlan thought about it. I stayed calm because I knew anger would not help me. And I stayed calm because I was gathering evidence, every word they said, every action they took. I was already building my case. Another student. Would this have worked if you were not a judge? Harlan's face grew serious. No, that is the problem. My title gave me tools most people do not have. That is why the reform cannot be about protecting judges. It has to be about protecting everyone. Rosa Delgado, the gas station clerk, applied to law school. She had saved the security footage. She had testified at the hearing. Harlan wrote her recommendation letter. She was accepted to University of Tennessee Law School. Full scholarship. She called him crying. I cannot believe this. I can, Harlan said. You did the right thing when it mattered. That is what lawyers do. The two customers who filmed the arrest joined their local NAACP chapter. Both became police reform advocates. One ran for city council. He won. Judge Lorraine Beckett, Harlan's mentor, launched the Judicial Equity Initiative training program for judges. How to recognize systemic bias in their own courtrooms. 200 judges completed the training in year 1. Sheriff Brooks, despite everything, earned reluctant respect. He implemented every reform. He met with community leaders monthly. He published the data even when it looked bad. Year 3 data, traffic stop disparity down to 2.3 times. Still not equal, but moving. Brooks hired Crawford County's first black deputy sheriff, promoted her to community liaison supervisor. The Citizens Review Board heard 47 cases in year 1, found for officers 31 times against 16 times. The board's independence proved its legitimacy. It was not rubber stamping either side. Harlan returned to Crawford County 1 year after his arrest. He visited the gas station. The owner had renamed it Whitaker Stop. Harlan had not given permission, but the owner, a Vietnamese immigrant, refused to change it back. You changed this place, the owner said. People are safer now. I honor that. He donated coffee sales to civil rights organizations, $15,000 in year 1. Harlan stood at the pump where he had been arrested, exactly where he had stood. He looked at the spot where Langford had approached. He felt nothing. No anger, no bitterness, just resolve. Harlan wrote an essay for The Atlantic. It began with this paragraph. I have sentenced men to prison. I have upheld constitutional rights against government intrusion. I have written judicial opinions that create precedent for decades, but I have never felt the weight of injustice until I carried it in handcuffs. The judge's robe creates distance, necessary professional distance from the defendant's reality. That night stripped away the distance. I stood where thousands stand daily, powerless, disbelieved, and judged before trial. The difference? I had tools to fight back. Most do not. Reform must be the bridge. The essay went viral, millions of reads in the first week. Harlan continued his work. He testified before Congress on police reform legislation. He consulted with 12 cities on implementing civilian review boards. The Whitaker Fellowship was established at University of Tennessee. 12 young black law students received full scholarships annually. Harlan mentored each one personally. One fellow asked him, "Do you regret driving through Crawford County that night?" Harlan smiled. "I regret that it happened. I do not regret what came from it." The phrase Whitaker Standard entered the reform lexicon, data-driven police accountability. Other Tennessee counties adopted similar frameworks voluntarily. 14 counties by year 2. Georgia, Alabama, and Kentucky requested Harlan's framework. The U.S. Department of Justice cited Crawford County reforms in guidance documents. A documentary was made, The Judge and the System, PBS. It won an Emmy. The film ended with Harlan returning to his courtroom in Atlanta. Business as usual, except nothing was usual anymore. Every defendant who stood before him now stood before someone who had been in their position, not metaphorically, literally. Harlan's sentencing changed, more nuanced, more aware, more just. His colleagues noticed. Judge Beckett asked him about it. "You are different now." "I am," Harlan agreed. "I understand what I could not before." The fear, the helplessness, the knowledge that the system can fail you even when you have done nothing wrong. "Are you glad it happened?" Harlan considered this. I am glad something good came from it. I am not glad it was necessary. The gas station became an unofficial memorial. People left flowers, signs, messages of solidarity. One sign read, "Justice here." The station owner kept it up. Harlan's story was taught in 200 law schools. His calm mugshot became a meme. The caption, "When you are not mad, just disappointed on a constitutional level." Harlan found this funny. Brooke did not. "They are trivializing what happened to you." "No," Harlan said. "They are making it accessible. If a meme gets a 20-year-old to think about civil rights, I will take it." Years after his arrest, Crawford County released its data report. Traffic stop disparity 1.8 times, nearly equal. Not perfect, but approaching it. Citizen complaints down 61% from pre-reform levels. Community Trust Survey, 73% of residents reported increased confidence in police. Harlan read the report in his chambers. He called Brooks. "You did it." Brooks's voice was tired, but proud. "We did it. You gave us the map. We followed it. Keep following it. I will." These are the kind of real-life stories that remind us change is possible. Black stories like Harlan's prove that touching stories do not require violence to be powerful. Stories like this, the kind that show systems being challenged and reformed, offer hope. Harlan closed his essay with these words: "I was arrested for nothing, and that nothing became the foundation for something." This is not a story about one man's vindication. It is about the thousands of nothings, the stops, the searches, the suspicions, the handcuffs without cause that happen when cameras are not rolling, when judges are not wearing suits, when no one with power is watching. We watched this time. Now we build systems that watch always. His final message to everyone who heard his story: if this story moved you, do not let that feeling dissipate when you scroll past. Here is what you can do. Comment below about a time you witnessed or experienced injustice. Silence protects systems. Stories expose them. Your voice matters. Share this video. Someone in your network needs to see that quiet resistance can reform systems violence never could. Transformation spreads through sharing. Research your local police department's traffic stop data. Most cities publish it. If the numbers look like Crawford County's did, attend a city council meeting. Ask questions, demand answers, subscribe to this channel. We tell real-life stories of power confronted, systems changed, and dignity defended. Black stories, touching stories, stories that matter. The gavel Harlan carried that night was not just his. It belongs to every person who refuses to accept that is just how things are. Now it is your turn to pick it up.